Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another fantastic episode of 50 Minutes of Fandom brought to you by the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. I'm your host, that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching. Where's he going next? Nobody knows. Four continents down, two more to go. No cap, straight facts. The worldwide star boy, Remy Blue. But it's not about us. You see, we actually have a special guest tonight with us. And like I said, 50 Minutes of Fandom, it's where we actually interview our fellow wrestling fans. And as a matter of fact, what we do is we take the spotlight and put it on one wrestling fan that we feel stands out from the rest. And with that being said, we'd like to welcome a man who is actually a cosplayer. Yes, I know last week we had another cosplayer by the name of Machoverse, a very talented guy, very entertaining guy. And now we have another entertaining guy with us who is actually making the cosplay world humble. Everybody, welcome to the show, Camel Clutch Cosplay. How you doing today, sir?
This thing on, Baba. This thing on. Okay. I think I hear you, Baba. How you doing, Baba?
Great, man. Great, man. Just here. Glad to have you on. Glad it was great meeting you at WrestleCon. Thank you for not breaking my back and making me humble. I mean, I guess it was the fact that we actually agreed to have you on the show this week that actually spared me from that fate. So
it
thank you for sparing me.
It didn't hurt.
So, I always enjoy seeing you guys, Machoverse, and Dusty Tribute. Y'all doing y'all's thing all over, all over the country, at the various conventions that y'all go to. So I gotta ask, man, I always ask the majority of our guests that we have on the show, because it's always interesting to hear. How did your love for professional wrestling start? What was the match or the event that you saw that made you go, wow, I'm interested now. I'm hooked. Y'all got a fan in me for life.
Hey, listen, Jin-Min. First, I'd like to say I'm very happy to be here. I'm not going to do that the entire time. I promise. Nobody wants to hear Sheik voice for 50 minutes straight. Thank you for having me. Yeah. So the thing that kind of reeled me into wrestling. Now I go way back. I take it that you're like a Attitude Era guy. You're around that era.
I'd say more like golden era, like 1990. Okay. I remember if 1990 was a golden era, but I was there when Hogan and Ultimate Warrior had their feud and so on.
Okay, I go back to WrestleMania 2.
So, oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. In fact, that was technically my first WrestleMania, and I was in like 7th grade.
Okay.
What had happened is all my friends had kind of started to slip into this obsession. They had watched Saturday Night's Main Event and would come to school talking about it, and I was just kind of like, "Huh, what's that?" I was, still focused on my Transformers and my G.I. Joes and my DC Comics at the time. And my friends were telling me about this show that, Saturday Night's Main Event. And, hey, the wrestling is on Saturdays and Sundays sometimes, and you should catch it. You should watch it. And I'm like, okay, I didn't want to be the odd guy out, So, of course, when it was next on television, I watched it. And one of the first matches that I ever saw that drew me in, and of course it was one of the most at the time, for network TV on big TV and not like local television, was the Ricky Steamboat Randy Savage match where Steamboat hit him with the bell in his throat and allegedly injured his larynx leading up into WrestleMania, right? So I had was convinced that I had heard about WrestleMania 2 and all of that stuff ahead of time. I wasn't sure what it was about, and I was hooked. I'm like, let me let me just start watching these shows. Let me get more information. And I just kind of became, obsessed, like we all do, the wrestling fans, and that led into WrestleMania 3, right? So I immediately, I should backtrack. I immediately went and rented WrestleMania 2 so that I could know what I was in for. And then WrestleMania 3 came along, and I begged my mother, could we please get this on pay-per-view and invite all my friends over? And I must have had like a packed house of like, I don't know, 10, 12 at the time, 7th or 8th graders, just watching in like rapt attention for see who was gonna win between Steamboat and the Dragon, and who was gonna win between Andre and Hogan. And my focus was on Roddy Piper because I loved him, and he was on his way out the door just as I was coming in. So it was that era that kind of drew me in.
Oh wow, that you must have been the coolest kid in school after that WrestleMania 3. After that, because I mean WrestleMania 3, that was the one that set it off. I mean, that was the one where you had, of course, Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant, and people were like, "Wow, Hulk Hogan actually did it. That's crazy."
Yeah,
And,
not knowing that he had done it, like 10 years prior or 5 years prior.
yeah. But to me, so in all honesty, yeah, that was something. But Andre was pretty much on his way out during that time, and I'm not trying to discredit the others that did it, like Hardy Race, but Andre was on his way out due to medical reasons. Of course, he had gained more weight. So I mean, yeah, that was pretty much a feat for Hulk Hogan to actually accomplish, to actually body slam him. But it wasn't, for me, like WrestleMania wasn't just that. I mean, yeah, the main event, was something to remember, but you had other things. You had like the wrestling world's first heel referee, Danny Davis, in a 6-man with what was it, the Hart Foundation, went up against the British Bulldogs.
Right. I remember, just being completely transfixed on the Saturday night's main event. That I think preceded that, where was that the one where Denny Davis was sort of outed as the evil referee, and I was just like, how could this happen? Like, this is completely crazy. And so, to see all of that play out as a 7th or 8th grader who was still buying into, the kayfabe and hard, and all my friends were buying into it, was just, was really just, it played into all our, young male, testosterone filled preteen angst, that kind of brought us into just loving this stuff, and that's where I became hooked.
Wow. Yeah, one thing I always remember about that WrestleMania 3 was it wasn't just Hulk Hogan body slamming the Giant, Andre the Giant, but it was also two things: Junkyard Dog putting a whooping on Harley Race.
Yep.
After that match where he had to bow to Harley Race.
Yep.
And the other one was, Roddy Piper versus Adrian Adonis, where we saw the Brutus officially become the barber.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that he wasn't always the barber.
Yeah, he was the dream team before he was the barber, and that was the moment. Yeah, that was the moment that brought him in. It's for me still my favorite WrestleMania. Like everything that has come after that, to one degree has been either great or maybe not so great. And more of the Attitude Era WrestleManias, and the Rock versus Hogan, and Cena versus Hogan, and all those other WrestleManias that have followed, and Stone Cold and The Rock. None of that has ever resonated to me the way that WrestleMania 3 did, and maybe that's just a function of being an old man. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta say, to me, like the first 10 or 20 WrestleManias, they were actually pretty memorable. To me, anything after that's like, yeah. And this is not me. Like I said, I'm an old school guy. I started watching in 1990, so I was watching when Shawn Michaels was still a rocker, and Bret
Same.
Hart was part of the Hart Foundation and all
Right.
that stuff. So
Right.
that's just my whole mindset.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but who are some of your favorites that you enjoyed besides Iron Sheik, of course?
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorites you enjoyed watching growing up that you were like, you didn't want to hear anything from anybody? Your favorite wrestler was on that screen, and you were just
Oh God.
focused on what they were doing.
Yeah. So I was sort of, while I didn't want to be the odd man out and not be the guy who was watching wrestling along with my friends, um, I also kind of was the odd person out because I enjoyed rooting for the heels,
Okay.
almost exclusively. Like for me, Hogan always was a jabroni. It was never, that's just the shtick. God rest his soul. But he was always the guy who, if there was a chance that he'd lose, I was just waiting for that moment. I was a big Roddy Piper fan. Huge Roddy Piper fan. In fact, my first technical cosplay was Roddy Piper when I was a kid. I had it um, in my head that I had this Roddy Piper T-shirt, right, and that I could build a Roddy Piper costume around that. And so I went immediately to like Dick's Sporting Goods, and I got blue elbow pads and knee pads. And I got material from back in the day. There was a store called the Rag Shop. I got the kilt material and made a sort of a makeshift kilt, and got a bucket, covered it in some of the same material, and got tubes and put them into there, and had the bagpipes. And I was like maybe 13, 14 years old with this full on Roddy Piper homemade cosplay that I did just because I was so obsessed with him. So he was far and away when I was a kid my number one. Sheik kind of came later. I always enjoyed him. I loved Sheik and Volkov together. I used to really get a kick out of Freddie Blassie, calling everyone a pencil neck geek, and that was great. Uh, I used to be a big fan of Big John Studd. He was, when I went to my first live event, it was Big John Studd versus Hulk Hogan at the Meadowlands.
Okay.
And I remember bringing a sign that said, Big John Studd and Hogan's a dud. And I just had this sign up, like I was in the rafters, and I didn't care. I'm just holding up this sign, and all the kids are like looking at me like I've got three heads because I'm rooting for Big John Studd. So he was a huge favorite of mine growing up. Mr. Wonderful, when he turned on Hogan, it was like, witnessing Pearl Harbor, as a kid. It was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening. And I was so stereotypical, sitting in my kitchen, like eating cereal, watching this thing on replay, just like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening. So yeah, all the bad guys, all the heels, they were my favorites.
Wow. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. When I first started watching wrestling, um, I used to actually cheer for Rick Rude. I thought Rick Rude was cool. So I mean, it's okay, man. I mean,
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, another thing that this is probably gonna have some people really upset with me. When the Hart Foundation, reunited, not back in not the 1980s tag team. I'm talking about the 1997 staple.
Yeah, the
I
fact.
was like, yes, because I've always wanted Bret and Owen to reunite. And
Right.
when I saw them reunite with the British Bulldog and Jim Neville Neidhart, and you had Brian Pillman in there, I was like, awesome, this is my new favorite team.
Yeah.
I always said, man, if only the Dynamite Kid were around to actually, be a part of that team. But little did I know is that he actually retired the year before. So I was like, I guess that's why it would never happen, because he'd be retired and so on. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I was.
We lost a lot of great years with him. I mean, you talk about an in-ring technician and somebody who could just like dazzle an audience, and to and obviously he had a terrible anger problem and a very bad drug problem, and his life was on a sort of a downward trajectory. But man, what an amazing in-ring performer! Just a great guy, and I agree with you 100%. I wish we had him in that faction.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I gotta ask you. So what made you decide all of a sudden? How did you end up, cosplaying as Iron Sheik now? Because I'm like, wow, this is pretty creative. I mean, I've never seen anybody do that before.
Yeah, I think I'm lucky in that. Look, hey, in my view, nobody does Savage better than Machoverse, but I'm lucky in that, unlike in his situation where there are 100 Macho Men, I have yet to see another Iron Sheik cosplayer, and so my competition is exactly this. I have zero, so I try to just do the best job that I can. But what sort of drew me into it was, like, again, if when I was a kid, my preference always was for the heels, and he was definitely up there. He was like, if I had to have a Mount Rushmore of heels, Sheik was going to be on that Mount Rushmore with several others that I really enjoyed. So he was always a top favorite, if not number one. And what drew me in was I had just sort of started going to New York Comic Con, and I was coming back to wrestling. So this was about 11 years ago or so. I just started going to Comic Con, and I had the first year that I went there, I had done sort of like a DC Comics cosplay. I don't know if you're familiar with the Court of Owls in Batman. So I did a Court of Owls cosplay, which I really liked, and then I did a really elaborate Two-Face that was a lot of fun to do. But I'm like, how can I sort of dovetail wrestling into this the next time that I go? And I had happened to be just sitting on the couch and flicking through, and I caught Iron Sheik's documentary, and I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. And I started watching the whole thing, and as I'm watching it, I'm just becoming more and more compelled by his in-ring and out of ring persona, like who he was as a person, and his his, you might want to define as a downfall and then sort of a resurrection at some point, and his persona in the ring, and his family life, and sort of the tragic nature of what happened with his kids, and all of this kind of resonated with me to be like, wow, this guy was something else. He was just amazing. Imagine having gone from being the bodyguard of the Shah of Iran to coming to a country where you have no ability to speak the language, and you're just sort of relying on the kindness of people in the field, that you're not necessarily, you're not a pro wrestler. He was a shoot wrestler, to teach him the ropes, so to speak. And that he was willing to, take on such a divisive role during a time in history that was, I mean, there was probably nothing more dangerous you could do during the Iran hostage crisis than portray, an evil Iranian, right? And meantime, he's loving that he's in America. He's grateful that he's in America. And he did it because he loved the sport. He loved the audience. For better or worse, he loved Vince McMahon. And he wanted to do the best possible job that he can do. And I was just so taken by all of this. I'm sitting on the couch watching this documentary, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking to myself, I can do this. I can pull off this as a cosplay and also really be proud of it because of who he is. And the funny thing is, I didn't want to do it alone, right? So I had a neighbor up the street who I always used to joke looked like Nikolai Volkov, and we were friends. So we're still friends, but he's since moved to another state. I called him up immediately, and I'm like, hey, listen, Comic-Con next year, we're going, right? And he says, yeah. I said, okay, I need your commitment right now, that you'll do Nikolai Volkov for me, and I'm going to do the Iron Sheik. And he goes, I'm out to dinner with my kids. And I said, that's great. I still need the commitment from you. And he goes, if you let me get off the phone and have dinner with my kids, I will commit to this. Okay, fantastic. And he pulled off just a phenomenal Volkov. And we went the first year as Sheik and Volkov. And my costume at the time was essentially almost completely store-bought. It was from the WWE costumes that they were licensing. I had like a foam chest, which I've since gotten rid of. And, very sort of like flimsy Kufa. This is a new one. And, I had plastic boot covers, but it's still kind of like no one else was doing it. So it looked really cool. And we went to New York Comic Con that year. And again, that was about 10 years ago. And it was just, we were greeted by people with such love for the characters. I had a grown man come up while we were waiting in line to get food in tears. He just came over and just put his hand on our shoulders and he said, I was across the room. I looked at the two of you and I was 8 years old watching wrestling again. And I turned to my friend and I'm like, we're locked in now. We got to do this every year. And then he had unfortunately moved away. And we still keep in touch. He's a great guy, but there's no opportunity to do it with him since. What I've done now is I've roped in another really good friend, my friend Major, who does Mean Gene. And we do that as a duo now, at least one day out of the 4 days of Comic-Con at New York Comic-Con. So yeah, it's never stopping. It's, as long as I can get out to conventions and I can get out to New York Comic-Con, which is my, WrestleMania as far as I'm concerned, I'll be doing this.
Yeah, that's cool that you found. I was gonna ask you if you ever found somebody to do a Nikolai Volkov to your Iron Sheik, and that's cool that you found somebody and you were able to do attend like a convention or whatnot. That's so I think I think I did. You were in that video I did because Machoverse wanted me to record a video with him. Mick Foley. I think you were in that one.
I was not, unfortunately. And
I know Triple H was in it. The guy who does Triple H.
Yeah, our friend Jack in the Box. He's a core part of our group. He does an amazing Triple H, and he was there for that. I missed it because I think I was somewhere else at like a photo op or something, and I was not there for that one. But it's funny that you mentioned it because aside from Iron Sheik, my only other wrestling cosplay that I do is Mankind. So I do Sheik and I do Mankind. I do Mankind to a much less extent than I do Iron Sheik, but I've got all the photos and videos of that on my Instagram page. I love, and I've met Mick a bunch of times. I do different variations. I do all three faces of Foley. But I also do like a Christmas version of Mick with like the Santa hat and a bag of thumbtacks and a Santa bag of thumbtacks and a Santa bag of like candy canes, and you never know which one you're going to get. So I have a lot of fun with that, and I've met him a bunch of times, and he is nothing but awesome and gracious. And I've met Nicole, his daughter. She's put me in a couple of videos when I've been. Actually, the first one she posted of me was this Iron Sheik with my buddy who does Mean Gene. But then this past Fanatics Fest, she did a couple of videos with me singularly and as the group as Mick Foley and Mankind.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
New York Comic Con is definitely like kind of like my other WrestleMania. Me being a photographer, I'm always going there and networking with people. So I hopefully I get to go again this year. I might not go as much as last year because last year I think I went all 4 days.
Yep.
But this time I think I'm just gonna go 2 days and that's it. I don't know. I'll see.
Well, we'll be there all 4 days. That's where it's New York Comic Con is where I met Machoverse, and sort of we fell into the group of the World Wrestling Cosplayers that we have now. It was the first Comic Con that I went to following the pandemic. So I'd obviously there was no Comic-Con in 2020, but for for safety's sake, I sat out the Comic-Con for 2021, and then the following Comic-Con I did my first New York Comic-Con as McFoley, as Mankind, and that's where I met Machoverse. And so, we took a few pictures together, exchanged some information, and I said to him, "Hey, I'll be here tomorrow as Sheik." And he said, "We'll find each other." And we did a bunch of pictures and took photos with some other wrestling cosplayers who kind of became this group that that we now call World Wrestling Cosplayers. And it sort of built this group up. I got in touch sort of dumbfoundedly with Mike, who does Dusty Rhodes, who's another great guy.
Yeah.
And met Jack through another friend who does Triple H, and it's just a great group. It's a fantastic group of people. They're all wonderful and really devoted to not just the cosplay, but to the sport and to the fun that goes along with it. We always say that no matter what, smallest convention, biggest convention, we just have a good time, and that's really
Oh, yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and like I said, I enjoy seeing y'all do y'all's thing. But it's like everywhere I go, I see y'all, and that's like I'm like, wow, these guys really have commitment. Like I've seen, especially Machoverse. I mean, right when I touched down in Indianapolis for Royal Rumble, who did I see? Machoverse right here. I'm like, wow, this guy's like really committed. He's everywhere. That's cool. You know what I mean? I mean, keep on doing it. I enjoy seeing y'all stuff. So did you ever get to meet Iron Sheik in person? I know you met one of his daughters.
So no, I haven't met his. I haven't met his daughter. We spoke via Instagram, but no, one of the great regrets that I'll have is that I never got to meet him in person. But I've had a bunch of brushes with him, right? So the first year that I did Iron Sheik, I'm walking around after taking a couple of pictures, and I ran into a friend of mine who I hadn't seen in a while, and he runs up to me with his phone and he goes, "Have you seen this?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "The Iron Sheik reposted you on Twitter." I said, No, impossible, right? And so he opens up the Twitter account. Now you got to remember, this is about 11 or so years ago, and there it is. It's a picture of me with my friend who we were doing who did Nikolai Volkov, and it's just captioned, "Everybody tries to be the legend." And I was blown away. Like I could have fallen over. I couldn't believe it, right? And I immediately responded, "Hey, that's me," and I got some attention from other people who had saw the post and was just like, "Oh, that's amazing." But what was most important was that he saw it, right? And I kind of thought that would be it, that was enough, and that would, because at that point his health was failing, so I didn't think that he would be making appearances, and really his appearances very much slowed down. Then I helped host another Comic-Con, a small con, locally here in my state, in New Jersey, and one of the people that we brought in as an attraction to this small con was Tito Santana, because he's a Jersey guy,
Okay.
and he came in and signed autographs and did all that kind of stuff. And we took some pictures and posted them on Facebook. And sure enough, Iron Sheik's Facebook account, he reposts the picture of me with Tito Santana. And he says, he said to me that he's lucky that it was you and not me, otherwise I would have broken his back. And I'm like, not again. I'm like, oh my God. And it was like one of the worst. I'd just been laid off at my job, and it's like one of the worst days of my life. And I'm like, I needed this so badly. Like, thank you. So that was the second time. And then the third time was when I returned back to New York Comic-Con after the pandemic. And I had a video that was filmed of me sort of walking into the convention holding the flag. And he reposted it on his Instagram and just said, "Okay, everybody vote. Is this guy the real or is he the jabroni?" And I got mixed responses on that too, but it was just like such an honor Since then, I've met and had conversations with his nephews, the Megan boys, who are awesome and so giving of their time and their knowledge of him. And then finally, just about a month ago, I was completely blown away. I woke up in the morning and I'm looking at my Instagram account and I see that I'm followed um, by Tanya Vazari, Sheik's daughter, and I had I had to do a double take, and I went back and looked at her account, and I'm like, yeah, that's her. So I just sent her a message, just saying, hey, I want you to know that it's been nothing but an honor to kind of help keep his memory alive, and I'm just so happy that you're following me, and it means a lot. And for me, that's like the ultimate compliment. And she wrote back a very nice response saying, I've been watching your stuff and it brings a tear to my eye. And I know my dad would have loved it. And his philosophy was always to entertain with intensity. And you do that. And, keep doing what you're doing and you're making us happy. And I was just like, okay, if nothing ever comes of this other than that, then mission accomplished,
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
So I think one thing that would actually cap off what you're doing
sure.
or actually be significant is if you met two other people, one of them being Sean Davari, who a lot of people don't notice when they called him Khosrow Davari in WWE, it was a
Mm,
playoff of Iron Sheik.
okay.
Even if you looked at his boots, he had the same boots. A lot of people don't know that. But that would be kind of cool if you could meet him, and also if you could meet the one guy that he cut that the Sheik Iron Sheik cut that infamous "Make You Humble" promo on B. Brian Blair. It'd be kind of cool to have you meet him
Well,
if you haven't met him already.
I would direct you to my Instagram account. I have met him. It was at 80s WrestleCon about 2 years ago, and he kind of looked up from his table, and there I was, and I busted his chops for a little bit, and we took some pictures, and I yelled at him for not selling for me at WrestleMania 3, and he was, because apparently that's the origin of the beef, by the way, is that Sheik didn't feel that B. Brian Blair sold for him at WrestleMania 3 like he was supposed to. So I don't know if he knew that was, sort of, it wasn't common knowledge. So I think I took him by surprise with it. And I'm just like, good jabroni. I tell you what, you didn't sell for me at the WrestleMania 3. Now I come back and I break your back and I make you humble. Good. And I'm going off on him. And he was just kind of like, his response was sort of to defend it and to say, no, that really isn't what happened. And we're getting into this real shoot conversation with me as the Sheik and him as B. Brian Blair about why I shouldn't be angry at him. And it was just a great moment. And I wish I had the conversation on video, but I do have the photos. So they're on my Instagram page, Camel Clutch Cosplay, and you can see those there. Another great one that I had a great conversation with was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And obviously that story between Sheik and Duggan is legendary. But yeah, I thought it would be fun to approach his table and just say, very sort of contritely and put my hand out and say, Hacksaw, after all these years and everything that went wrong, I feel that it is appropriate for me to come to you and to say that it was all your fault.
Oh, snap.
And he bursts out laughing. But the funny thing was his wife, Deborah, who does just a great job of sort of like protecting him at his table. Like she doesn't let people take photos that shouldn't be taking photos, or like people from far away, or or she's protective of her husband, and I totally get that. But when I said that, I think it kind of lit a fire under her, and she did the same thing B. Brian Blair did. She started having this shoot conversation with me about why it was all my fault. And she goes, you needed the ride. She goes, if you hadn't come to him because you needed the ride, none of that would have happened. And I had to go like, I'm not really him, right? It's just kind of But people love the character, they love the stories, and so they kind of feed into it. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I think it's great.
Wow, that's awesome that you got to meet both Axe Jim Duggan and B
Yeah,
Brian Blair. That's
yeah.
and you've also been to Subway Mania, right? What was that
I,
experience like?
I have not. No,
Oh, you did?
I have yet to receive
Oh,
my
I thought you
subway.
did.
My Subway Mania ticket has yet to be punched. I don't know if there's a concern about bringing in an old man. I don't know what it is, but I have not drawn a number for the Subway Mania Royal Rumble yet. Maybe that'll come at some point, but no, that is not right now. B. Brian Blair, Hacksaw, and I don't know if you've seen my video with Hogan, which was the year before he passed. So I got to be Hogan as well. So those three are sort of the pinnacle of my interactions with wrestlers from that era.
Yeah, if I were to go to Subway Mania, I'd probably want to take part, but I'd probably go as Kamala. I have a bald head and everything. I would just paint uh, some stuff on my stomach. Beat my stomach, and
Listen,
then just splash
I
somebody, and
respect
that's
it.
it.
I respect it. Between Kamala and Abdullah the Butcher, who is also
Or
nothing but cool to me, and the times I've met him, those are two of the guys who would scare the ever living crap out of me as a kid. So totally respect it. I think you could do a really good Bad News Brown too.
oh wow,
Yeah.
man! I hope his daughter's not watching. We actually had his daughter on our show
Ah,
a couple of years ago because we have another segment that we do called Lariats and Legacies, where
awesome.
we interview the kids or the loved ones of wrestlers that
That's
are
great.
legends that have either passed or some of them that are still with us. Like we've had Big Boss Man's daughter, and we had
That's
uh,
phenomenal.
Kelly Slaughter, who
Oh
who is
wow,
the daughter of Sergeant Slaughter,
that's
and
great.
it's three great stories that we had. Hopefully, we get more
Sure.
people. But yeah, that. It's funny you mentioned that too.
Yeah.
Maybe I would do Bad News Brown, but
You should.
I'd have to like tap into it really good.
And
I
what
always
better
thought maybe
place?
Coco
What better
Beware.
place? I'm sorry. What better place to do it than on the subway in New York?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's not a bad idea either because Bad News Brown has always been built from Harlem, New York.
There you go. This is what I'm saying. Right?
You just gave me an idea. Okay,
The wheels are always turning, Bubba. They're always turning.
so you picture this. And they say I can't write. And they say I can't write this stuff. Subway Mania is going on a
Yeah,
moving train. The train stops at 125th Street. Who enters the train? What are you guys doing in my town?
exactly.
This is Harlem. I run this place. That'd be kind of cool.
You get on that train and you call those guys a bunch of beer-bellied sharecroppers, everything is going to stop. Everything's going to stop.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I get to attend it one day, man. I mean,
Yeah,
I've had people on here that have, like Chris Wayne and Michael Verse, who have actually
yeah,
participated. I've had one fan who's actually been there. Minor, she's actually attended. But yeah, hopefully one day though. So I
yeah.
gotta ask you, speaking of stuff we made, did you ever think about becoming a wrestler yourself, like getting into the ring and training and
Oh,
whatnot?
no. Listen, my sport in high school was tennis. You don't want me in a wrestling ring. That's the last thing you want. But I did have a lot of fun at Brooklyn Comic Con. Not this last one, but the year before, where the guys who were running the wrestling portion of the event, they had a ring set up and everything, and I was there as Mankind. And they allowed me to get in and take part in a very limited way in a tag team where I got to turn on my partner the way Mankind used to do,
Mhm.
and we totally, prepared it ahead of time where we lost. He reamed me out for not being there to help him, and I just threw on Sacco and put him in the mandible claw until he passed out. And it was just a great moment. It's the first time I've ever done anything like that. So I had a lot of fun.
Wow, that's cool, man. I'm glad you got that, and that must have definitely been something.
Yeah, it was great.
You know, and like I said, I hope you get more opportunities and whatnot. Because like I said, I like what y'all are doing. You, Macho Verse, Mike, well, Dusty Tribute,
Yeah,
even the guy that plays Booker T, and the folks at Subway Mania. I mean, you guys do some
yeah,
great stuff,
they're all a
and
lot of fun people. They're great people.
Yeah, you guys keep on what you're doing, and I hope that it ends up becoming, more comes of it. And
Sure.
like I said, man, it's really great to see wrestling fans having fun, and you know, I always look forward to seeing what y'all are gonna do next and so on. So,
Appreciate that.
hopefully, hopefully we get to see more of that and whatnot. So I got it. So what's next on the Sheik's appearances, man? Where's the Sheik gonna go next and make some poor, unfortunate people humble if they don't show some respect to the Iron Sheik?
Next stop, Baba, is the New York Comic Con in the October, Baba. We go into the Javits Center, we break everyone back, we make them humble. Cameraman Summit. Yeah, that's where I'll be next. The way that it's plotted out, I'll only be doing Chic one day. Looks like Friday. I'll be doing Mick Foley, Mankind on Thursday. And then this goes a way back. You may get the reference or not. But on Saturday, what we're putting together, my same buddy who does Mean Gene and I are going to do. And did you ever watch the show on Adult Swim, Space Ghost?
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a version of Space Ghost that was played by Macho Man. He was Space Ghost's grandfather. So
okay.
I'm going to be doing that on. So Machoverse gonna have a little competition on Saturday of New York Comic Con. I'm going to be doing Leonard Space Ghost, who has the Macho Man's voice, and I can do a fairly decent Macho Man voice, so he's in a little bit of trouble. But yeah, we're going to be pulling that off on Saturday, and Sunday is yet to be determined. So I'll be there all 4 days, but Sheik will only be there on Friday. So if anyone is going to be at New York Comic Con on Friday, please find me, and I'm happy to break your back and put you in the Camel Clutch.
You know what I'd like to see you do? I don't know if you can. Hopefully, you make an appearance with Colonel Mustafa.
It's funny because recently there was a 90s WrestleCon at Menin Arena, and I really toyed with the idea of doing Colonel Mustafa. I always say when somebody brings up Colonel Mustafa, I say we don't talk about that. But but I sort of embraced it a little bit and started looking at the pieces of the costume, which are not easy to get. Just this year I managed to get a set of custom boots, with the hook. Up until that point, I was sort of cobbling together whatever I had to do the best job at authentic looking boots, but I just had custom ones made. So I had those, and then I started looking into all the military uniform pieces of it, and I just would not have had it in time to do the 90s con. So I ended up doing Mick Foley again, but it's on the radar. It's not out of the question.
Wow, hey, I definitely will be looking forward to that, because I will never forget, like, when they had that shocking return. I was like, wait, Iron Sheik? And then I was too young to understand that what Sergeant Slaughter had done at the time.
Right.
He had this guy who was America's hero all these years, and then he just turned and became like an Iraqi sympathizer, and
then all of a sudden you were supposed to believe that Sheik, who told you for 30 years that Iran was number one, that now he was from Iraq. So that was a little painful too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the funny thing about it, I didn't even understand how what to the degree to how serious that story was. I mean, how life threatening it was, because when we had Kelly Slaughter on, she was like, yeah, they had people that threatened to kill him. They had to get bodyguards, not just for him, but for her. Oh, not unalive. I don't want to. Unalive. I gotta learn to say that because
but
otherwise we're gonna get banned and whatnot. But
and what's the running thread here, right? The running thread is that when you've had these life-threatening, highly charged political stories that have found their way through WWE, Sheik has found a way to be part of almost all of them, right? You go back to the Iran hostage crisis. You go back to the Iraqi war, and you're always seeing Sheik putting himself in a place of danger, really, literally to his life, in order to entertain fans. And that's one of the things that, I find so fascinating and admirable about him. He gave a lot. He was a performer who was willing to give, and that means a lot as far as I'm concerned, and gives me sort of a sense of pride in continuing to help keep his memory alive.
Oh yeah. So I gotta ask you. I got one more question before we shut it down, man. So
Sure.
you got somebody that comes up and they're like, "Hey, Sheik, I like what you're doing, man. It's really cool. I'm a fan of such and such. Coco Beware, or the model Rick Martel or somebody. They name some wrestler that they're a fan of, and they want to start cosplaying. What advice would you give that person when they start cosplaying? Their favorite wrestler.
So, first thing I would say, and I have had this question before, is just, no matter what, do it. Find a way to put something together that, even if it doesn't immediately resemble what you want it to be. Put something together and give it a shot. You can always test it out at a smaller convention. You can always try and see how it plays out at a smaller con. Talk to other cosplayers. The guys in our group and the women in our group. I shouldn't just say just the guys. The guys and the women in our group. I don't know if you know Luxury Leah. She's
Bianca Belair,
phenomenal cosplayer, and she is so versatile and amazing, and so giving of her time too. So, guys, women, the people who are parts of our group are always willing to share. And we're like a message away, and always happy to give information about what works, what might not work, what you might want to think of. Look, we've known each other now for less than an hour, and I already got you going as Bad News Brown, right? So,
yes.
So it just take advantage of people who are doing it, but don't be scared to take that first step. Just be like Nike. Just do it. Get involved, put something together and give it a shot. It's only going to get better. You're going to refine your costume. You're going to refine your impression. You're going to fall in with a group. We have a great group, by the way, on Facebook. That's just called Wrestling Cosplayers, and it's people of all levels. So I encourage anyone who's interested to join that group on Facebook, because we're constantly giving out information and tips and information about cons, and just a really helpful group of people in the wrestling cosplay community who are there to support each other. So just don't be intimidated, don't be frightened, give it a shot and do it. That's my best advice. Lost your volume, my friend. Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back.
So for those y'all that just heard that are looking to get into the cosplaying game, you actually got some advice from one of the best to do it here on Ringside Society. So take that advice, go forward, and I gotta say, Camel Clutch, thank you very much for all the entertaining moments that you've given us.
Thank you.
On doing it. We hope that you end up getting more attention worldwide and everything, and
Thank you.
we hope that you take this as far as you want to take it, and it brings nothing but success and happiness as well, too. Not just for you, but for the rest of the people in your group as well. And before we shut this show down, where can fans find you on social media?
Yeah, you can. Predominantly, I'm on Instagram, and it's just that name right there, Camel Clutch Cosplay. You can also find me on TikTok, same name, Camel Clutch Cosplay. I'm more. I have a greater presence on Instagram. There's something new I'm putting up practically every day. TikTok, I'm starting to kind of build that. When you look at my account, you might say, "Oh my God, this guy's been doing this for 10 years," and the account doesn't look like it's. There's something new every day, but the account looks relatively new. That's because the account is only 2 years old. I was one of those guys that I just warned you not to be. somebody who was frightened to put his stuff out there on social media. And it was actually Machoverse who said to me, "You need a social media account to put this stuff on." And it wasn't until he really encouraged me to do it that I created my cosplay account, and that was just a little under 2 years ago. So it's technically in the world of Instagram a newer account, but there's something new up there every day. There's 2 posts that are up there right now that I put up today, and my commitment is to put at least one new post. Skit. We do lots of skits. We do wrestling memes. We do photos and stuff from the past, and new stuff. So there's always going to be something new every day when you're on that page. I hope you'll visit it and like it and share it, and help keep Shiki's memory alive, because Shiki's daughter is following it. Shiki's nephews are following it. And it would mean the world to everyone, I think, to continue to live his legacy.
Awesome. So y'all make sure y'all go out there and follow this man. He's doing a lot of great things, giving a lot of great advice. So make sure you go ahead and shoot, Camel Clutch Cosplay, a follow. He's on he's on Instagram. So, definitely go ahead and, support and whatnot. And with that being said, once again, thank you for all the memories and they and moment that you've been giving us, and we look forward to the ones that you're going to keep giving us in the future. And with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. My eyelids are getting heavy. My stomach is rumbling. That means it's time for dinner and a nap. Well, maybe not in that order, but before I partake in those activities, if y'all want to find me on social media, those of you that are listening and watching, if you want to find me on social media, not that I see a lot of cool things, but I do go to a lot of cool places. You can definitely find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Facebook as Remy Blue as well. And I'm also on Blue Sky at Remy Blue .bsky.social. I'm on there as well. And our podcast is also on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Ringside Society, Twitch at Ringside Society 2019. We're on Facebook as a Facebook group, and we're also on Spotify and Teespring, where we sell our official Ringside Society merchandise. We have T-shirts, we have hoodies, we have coffee mugs. We have 3 designs right now. We have more coming soon. And last but not least, we have a YouTube channel where you can actually see great interviews like this one we have here with Camel Clutch Cosplay, like the one we had last week with Machoverse, and also our SummerSlam predictions as well. To see all those great episodes, it's really simple. It's not even pre-algebra. Just go on YouTube and type in Ringside Society. I want you to see that really good-looking dark blue and light blue yin-yang sign. The blue flames around it. That's when you know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to all our videos, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna give you all a little bit of a spoiler, but my name is not Paul Heyman. This Saturday, or I think it's this Sunday, we're gonna be having half of the Golden Class. That's right. They're stable down there in the great state of Georgia. They're kicking a lot of butt, taking a lot of names, and these 4 men are not to be played with. So we're going to be having KJ Valentine and Dallas Cage from the Golden Class on our show this weekend. So make sure you tune in for that, because we're going to be sitting down with them and talking about how they got their start and what they have in store for the wrestling world. So with that being said, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in live tonight. We really, truly appreciate it. Thank you very much for giving us your time. We really and truly are grateful. We strive for one of the best wrestling podcasts a wrestling fan could, should, and would listen to, and one of the realest wrestling podcasts. And we're not going to stop being that. We're going to keep on doing what we do. And to those of you that are listening later on, get a chance, thank you very much in advance. And those y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really, really wish we go away and stop what we're doing well, like myself at Golden Corral. We're not going anywhere for a while. So with that being said, we just want everybody to know that we're very well and aware. We here at Ringside Society, we see it, and we're very well and aware of it. That everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. But we're not the grandparents podcast. We're not your parents podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hashtag, we are not the same. With that being said, I'm going to say right now, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for the ever so talented Camel Clutch Cosplay, who,
Come on, zoom it.
if y'all don't follow and support, he's gonna break your back and make y'all humble. We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we'll be back later on this week with another impressive guest, another impressive episode. But until then, we just have four favors for y'all: stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and enjoy wrestling. We out. Peace.